The Crucible of Worlds. The main Devourer fleet arrived like a plague from the depths of space. Hundreds of ships emerged from hyperspace, each one a twisted fusion of technology stolen from dead civilizations. At their center loomed something so massive it defied comprehension. A creature ship the size of a small moon, its surface covered in weapons and processing facilities. That's the Apex Devourer. Guardian's voice trembled through the communication systems. It commands the entire fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every tactical decision flows through its consciousness. Kyung-Ho Lee, now commanding the human defense fleet, studied the sensor readings with growing dread. His 12 hybrid ships looked tiny compared to the armada bearing down on them. Even with all their improvements, the numbers were overwhelming. "How many ships are we facing?" he asked his tactical officer. "Over 800 confirmed contacts," came the reply, "and more arriving every hour." The Apex Devourer began its attack by sending waves of smaller vessels forward. These scout ships had been built from the remains of dozens of species, their hulls displaying trophies from conquered worlds. They moved with perfect coordination, like cells in a vast organism. Ma Young Choi, linked to the navigation systems of all human ships, guided the defense fleet through impossible maneuvers. Her mind had been enhanced by years of neural interface use, allowing her to process spatial information in ways that seemed almost magical. "Formation Delta 7, she called out, and the hybrid ships moved as one entity. They twisted through space in patterns that confused enemy targeting systems, striking from unexpected angles before vanishing into hyperspace jumps. The first engagement showed both human advantages and limitations. The hybrid weapons were devastatingly effective, tearing through enemy shields and hulls like paper. But for every Devourer ship they destroyed, 3 more took its place. Jong-Min Park had made a disturbing discovery while studying captured Devourer technology. The enemy ships weren't just built from stolen parts, they were learning and adapting in real time. "They're using some kind of quantum evolution system," he reported during a brief pause in the battle. "Every time we damage them, they modify their defenses. Every weapon we use teaches them how to resist it. But humans had their own ace in the hole." Daehyun Song, commanding a squadron of the newest hybrid ships, discovered something the Devourers hadn't expected. The chaotic, adaptive nature of human engineering created technological viruses that spread through enemy networks. When human weapons hit Devourer ships, they didn't just cause physical damage. The hybrid technology infected enemy systems with contradictory instructions and impossible equations. Ships that had worked perfectly for thousands of years suddenly began malfunctioning. "It's our creativity," Guardian explained as they watched enemy vessels turn their weapons on each other. "Human thinking is so chaotic that it confuses their control systems. They can't predict what we'll do because we don't always know ourselves." The battle expanded beyond anything either side had planned. Reality-warping weapons tore holes in space-time itself, creating pocket dimensions where normal physics didn't apply. Ships found themselves fighting battles that existed in multiple timelines simultaneously. Yujin Park, now permanently linked to the main warship's weapon systems, pushed the Veltar technology beyond its original limits. Her consciousness spread through quantum networks, allowing her to control weapons across multiple ships at once. "I can see everything," she reported, her voice carrying harmonics that sounded both human and alien. "Past, present, future. It's all happening at the same time in quantum space." She began targeting not just enemy ships, but the quantum connections between them. Each successful hit disrupted the Devourer fleet's coordination, forcing individual ships to operate independently. But the Apex Devourer was learning too. The massive creature ship began adapting its tactics, sending waves of boarding pods toward human vessels. These weren't simple attack craft. They were living weapons that could reshape themselves to penetrate any defense. Yunji. Nam led the defense of the main colony station as Devourer boarding pods attached themselves to the hull. The creatures that emerged were nightmares made real. Part machine, part living tissue, designed to consume and convert everything they touched. "Use the sonic weapons," she shouted to her defenders. "The frequencies that hurt the scout ship affect these things too." The battle on the station was brutal in close quarters. Human defenders used mining equipment and construction tools as weapons, fighting creatures that could heal from almost any wound. But humans had something the Devourers didn't understand. They fought harder when protecting their homes. In space, the main battle reached a critical point. The Apex Devourer had positioned itself at the center of a formation that channeled energy from hundreds of smaller ships. The combined power was building toward something catastrophic. "It's preparing a planet-killer weapon," Guardian warned. "If that fires, it will sterilize every world in this system." Inho Bay volunteered for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. Using a small stealth ship enhanced with the best human and Veltar technology, he would penetrate the Apex Devourer's defenses and plant a quantum virus directly in its core systems. "The virus won't just damage their computers," he explained as his ship prepared to launch. "It will spread through their quantum network and infect every connected vessel. But someone has to deliver it manually." His ship was barely larger than a fighter, but it carried technology that represented the best of both civilizations. Stealth systems that bent light and radar around it, shields that could briefly withstand planet-cracking weapons, and a quantum virus designed by combining human computer science with Veltar quantum mechanics. The approach to the Apex Devourer was like flying into hell. The creature ship's surface was covered in weapons that tracked his every movement. Defense systems that had destroyed entire fleets focused their attention on his tiny vessel. But Inho had advantages the Devourers couldn't predict. His neural interface allowed him to think at quantum speeds, processing information faster than enemy targeting systems could track. His ship responded to his thoughts before he was consciously aware of making decisions. He reached the creature ship's core just as its planet-killer weapon began to charge. The Apex Devourer's interior was a maze of organic conduits and mechanical systems, all pulsing with malevolent intelligence. Planting the virus required connecting directly to the creature's neural center. Inho removed his helmet and pressed his bare hands against the alien consciousness, feeling its thoughts flood into his mind. For a moment, he experienced what it was like to be a devourer, to feel the hunger that drove them across the galaxy, consuming civilization after civilization in an endless quest for perfection. But he also felt something they had never experienced. Defiance. "This is for everyone you killed," he whispered as he activated the virus. The quantum infection spread through the Devourer network faster than light, turning their own coordination systems against them. Ships that had operated as one organism suddenly found themselves fighting for individual survival. The Apex Devourer's death scream was felt across multiple dimensions. As its consciousness died, the psychic shockwave stunned every Devourer vessel in the fleet. For a crucial moment, they were blind and helpless. That moment was all humanity needed. The combined firepower of every human ship focused on the paralyzed enemy fleet. Hybrid weapons tore through Devourer vessels that couldn't adapt fast enough to defend themselves. But victory came at a terrible cost. The reality storms created by the battle had damaged space-time itself around their system. Several human ships were lost in quantum anomalies, and the main warship was critically damaged. Guardian's consciousness, scattered across failing quantum networks, delivered one final message. "The Devourers are broken but not destroyed. Others will come. Humanity must be ready to carry the fight to them." As the surviving Devourer ships retreated into deep space, humanity surveyed the wreckage of their first galactic war. They had won, but they were forever changed. The neural interfaces and hybrid technology had transformed them into something new, no longer purely human, but not alien either. Yejin Ko, her body enhanced with alien technology and her mind expanded by neural connections, looked out at the stars with eyes that could see quantum patterns in spacetime. "We're not the same species that found that buried ship," she said to the other survivors. "The question is, what are we becoming?" The answer would determine not just humanity's future, but the fate of every civilization in the galaxy. The war with the Devourers was over, but a larger conflict was just beginning. Forging the sword, the message from Earth arrived 3 days after the scout battle. Admiral Chen's face looked tired as he spoke from the military command center back home. "We're sending everything we can," he said through the communication link. 12 warships, 30 support vessels, and 20,000 volunteers. But it will take them 6 weeks to reach you. Can you hold out that long? Sung Ho looked around the room at the colony leaders. Everyone knew the truth. 12 human warships wouldn't be enough. The Devourer fleet would have hundreds of vessels, each one built from the remains of conquered civilizations. "We'll have to do more than just hold out," he replied. "We need to change the game completely." That's when Junsik Lim proposed something crazy. He had been in charge of building the colony, turning empty space into a place where humans could live. Now he wanted to turn the entire system into a weapon. Look at what we did with the alien ship, he explained to the emergency council. We combined human engineering with Veltar technology and made something better than either one alone. What if we do that with everything? The plan was ambitious beyond anything humans had attempted. Instead of just preparing to defend themselves, they would transform their entire industrial capacity. Every factory, every mining station, every piece of equipment would be converted to produce hybrid human Veltar technology. Hye-Won An made the discovery that made it all possible. She was a specialist in biological engineering, studying how living things adapted to new environments. When she examined the neural interfaces that connected humans to Veltar systems, she found something amazing. Human brains are different from Veltar brains in a crucial way, she told the science team. Veltar minds were stable and organized. They didn't change much over time. But human minds are plastic. They adapt and grow with new experiences. This meant that humans could do something the Veltar never could. Instead of just using alien technology, human minds could actually improve it. The more they worked with Veltar systems, the better those systems became. We're not just learning their technology, Hye-Won explained. We're evolving it into something new. Sang-Wook Kim had spent his life working in dangerous mines, fixing equipment that broke in places where one mistake could kill you. Now he led teams inside the alien warship, installing human technology alongside Veltar systems. The work was incredibly dangerous. Alien and human technologies were based on completely different principles. Making them work together required careful experimentation and more than a little luck. It's like teaching two different languages to talk to each other, Sang-Wook explained to his workers. Sometimes it works perfectly. Sometimes it explodes. Several workers were killed in accidents when incompatible systems overloaded. But slowly, carefully, they began to create something unprecedented. Hybrid technology that combined the best of both civilizations. Human artificial intelligence merged with Veltar quantum computers, creating thinking machines that could process information in ways neither species had imagined. Earth-built weapons were enhanced with reality warping, capabilities that made them far more powerful than their original designs. The most important breakthrough came when Subin Yu was studying the ship's main computer, Guardian. The consciousness that had emerged from human-Veltar cooperation was growing more complex every day. It's not just artificial intelligence, Subin reported with excitement. It's something entirely new. Guardian has Veltar memories and logic, but it also has human creativity and emotions. It's become a true hybrid mind. Guardian proved this by doing something neither human nor Veltar technology could do alone. It began to design new weapons and defenses by combining memories from thousands of battles with human imagination and ingenuity. I remember how the Devourers fight, Guardian explained in its multi-layered voice. But I can also see new possibilities that the Veltar never considered. Human thinking is chaotic, but that chaos contains solutions we never tried. The first hybrid ships were completed just 4 weeks after the Scout battle. They looked nothing like traditional human vessels. Their hulls curved in impossible ways, and their weapons seemed to bend light around them. Kyung-Ho Lee, one of Earth's best ship captains, volunteered to test the first hybrid vessel. When he connected his mind to the ship's neural interface, he gasped in wonder. I can feel the ship thinking, he reported. It's not just responding to my commands, it's anticipating them. It knows what I want to do before I do. The hybrid ships were faster than anything humans had built, protected by shields that could stop planet-killing weapons, and armed with guns that could tear holes in reality itself. But more importantly, they could adapt and learn from every battle. Meanwhile, other teams worked to upgrade human weapons and defenses. Mining lasers were enhanced with Veltar focusing crystals, making them powerful enough to cut through enemy hulls. Construction robots were given alien AI systems, turning them into autonomous defenders. Even the spacesuits worn by human workers were upgraded. Enhanced with alien materials and human engineering, they allowed people to survive in environments that would have killed them before. Tae Hyun-yoon, who had been the first to successfully interface with Veltar technology, made another crucial discovery. The neural connections didn't just let humans control alien systems, they were changing the humans themselves. People who use the interfaces regularly are developing new abilities, he reported. Enhanced reflexes, better spatial awareness, even limited telepathic communication. We're not just using their technology, we're evolving because of it. This created ethical questions that the colony had never faced. Were they still fully human if alien technology was changing their brains and bodies? But with the Devourer fleet approaching, philosophical debates had to wait. As the modifications continued, advanced Devourer ships began arriving in the outer system. These weren't scouts, they were predators, sent to weaken the defense before the main fleet attacked. The first engagement showed how much humans had learned. Instead of one alien warship fighting alone, they now had a coordinated defense network. Hybrid ships worked together with enhanced space stations and mobile weapons platforms. Ma Young-choi, now serving as the fleet's chief navigator, guided the hybrid ships through space that had been warped by their own weapons. She could sense enemy movements through her neural connection and coordinate attacks that seemed impossible. The Devourer advanced ships found themselves facing something they had never encountered. Human tactics combined with Veltar technology created weapons that adapted faster than the enemy could counter them. "They're confused," Guardian observed during one battle. "The Devourers learn by consuming their enemy's technology, but our hybrid systems are changing too fast for them to understand." But the real test was still coming. Long-range sensors detected the main Devourer fleet moving toward them. Hundreds of ships built from the remains of dead civilizations, commanded by intelligence that had been perfecting conquest for thousands of years. In Hobei, a young engineer who had volunteered for the most dangerous jobs, made a final modification to the alien warship's weapon systems. Instead of just destroying enemy ships, the new weapons could disrupt the connection between Devourer vessels and their controlling intelligence. "If we can cut their communication," he explained, "maybe we can turn their own ships against them." As the main fleet approached, humanity prepared for a battle that would determine not just their own survival, but the fate of the galaxy. They had transformed themselves from a simple mining colony into something the universe had never seen, a fusion of species that refused to surrender. Guardian's voice echoed through every human ship and station. The Veltar fought with honor and courage, but they fought alone. Humans fight with fury and creativity, but more importantly, they fight together. Let the Devourers learn what that means. The storm approaches. The celebration ended quickly when Wu Jinhan ran into the command center with his face pale. As their best space expert, he had been watching the deep space sensors. What he found made everyone's blood run cold. "There's something coming," he said, his hands shaking as he showed them the readings. "It's big and it's not natural. The computer says it will reach us in 4 days. Guardian's voice filled the room through the ship's communication system. The alien consciousness had learned to speak perfect human language, though it still sounded strange, like many voices talking at once. "It is a Devourer scout ship," Guardian said. "They have detected our energy signature. The main fleet will not be far behind." Captain Sung-Ho Kwan had arrived from Earth just 2 weeks earlier on the military ship Incheon. He was supposed to evaluate the alien technology for Earth's military. Instead, he found himself preparing for humanity's first alien war. "How much time do we have?" Sung-Ho asked. "The scout will arrive in 4 days," Guardian replied. "If we defeat it, we have perhaps 2 months before the main fleet arrives. If we fail?" Guardian's voice trailed off, but everyone understood. If they failed, humanity would face the same fate as the Veltar. The next 4 days were chaos. Everyone worked without sleeping, preparing for a battle they barely understood. The alien warship was powerful, but most of the humans didn't know how to use its weapons. The neural interfaces required training that usually took months. Eugene Park had been practicing with the ship's flight controls for over a year. She was their best pilot and the only one who could handle the warship's speed and power. But flying was different from fighting. "I need to connect with the weapon systems," she told the team. "If we're going to fight, someone has to control the guns." Su Bin-yu, their brain expert, shook her head. "The weapon interfaces are too dangerous. We've seen what happens when people try to connect with damaged systems. You could be killed." "If the Devourers win, we'll all be killed anyway," Eugene replied. The neural connection with the weapons was agony. Eugene screamed as alien memories flooded her mind. She experienced the final battle of the Veltar, felt their fear and desperation as the Devourers overwhelmed them, but she also felt their courage and their hope that someone would continue their fight. When the connection stabilized, Eugene was changed. Her eyes glowed faintly with alien energy, and she spoke about weapons that could bend space and time. The ship's guns could do more than just shoot. They could trap enemies in time loops or turn their own weapons against them. Changmin. "Oh, Cho worked with Guardian to understand Devourer tactics. The alien consciousness shared memories from thousands of battles, showing how the enemy fought. They don't just attack, Chang Min explained to the defense teams. They try to capture and convert. Every ship they take makes them stronger. We can't let them get close enough to board us. The colony's engineers, led by Hyunwoo Park, worked frantically to turn civilian equipment into weapons. Mining lasers became ship guns. Construction shields were modified to protect against enemy fire. Even the ice mining equipment was turned into weapons. We're not soldiers, Hyunwoo told his team, but we're engineers. If there's one thing humans are good at, it's making tools work for new jobs. On the fourth day, the scout ship arrived. It was nothing like human ships, a twisted mass of metal and flesh that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Parts of it looked like technology from dozens of different species, all melted together into something horrible. It's made from the ships it captured, Guardian observed. I recognize pieces from Veltar vessels and dozens of other species. Each conquest makes it stronger. The first attack came without warning. The scout ship fired weapons that seemed alive, energy beams that writhed like snakes and sought out the warmest targets. The colony's shields held, but barely. Yujin took the alien warship into battle for the first time in 50,000 years. The ship moved like a living thing under her control, dancing between the enemy's attacks while its weapons charged. When she fired, reality seemed to bend around the energy beams. The scout ship's hull twisted as the alien weapons hit it. Parts of it folded inside out while other sections froze in time. But the creature adapted quickly, changing its shape to avoid the worst damage. It's learning from our attacks, Changmin warned. Each shot teaches it how to defend better. The battle raged for hours. The scout ship launched smaller creatures, flying things that looked like machines built from bones and metal. They tried to attach to the colony's defenses and eat their way through. Dongjun Seo led teams of volunteers with mining equipment to fight off these boarding creatures. They found that the aliens were weak to certain frequencies of sound and light. Weaknesses, Guardian remembered from the ancient Veltar wars. Use the high-frequency welders, Dongjun shouted over the noise of battle. They don't like those sounds. But the real battle was in space, between the alien warship and the scout. Yujin pushed the ship's systems to their limits, using weapons the Veltar had built to fight this exact enemy. She trapped parts of the scout in time bubbles and turned its own weapons back on itself. The scout ship began to retreat, but not before doing something that chilled everyone's hearts. It sent a signal into deep space, a long, complex message that Guardian translated with horror. It has told the main fleet about us, Guardian said. It described our weapons, our defenses, and our location. The Devourers know everything about humanity now. The battle was won, but victory felt hollow. The scout ship limped away, badly damaged but still alive. In 2 months, maybe less, the main fleet would arrive. And when it came, it would be prepared for everything humanity could throw at it. Sung-ho called an emergency meeting of all the colony's leaders. The damaged alien ship had proven it could fight, but one ship couldn't stand against an entire fleet. We need more ships, he said. Earth has to be warned, and we need every vessel they can send. Ginny had a different idea. What if we don't just build more ships? What if we make them better? We've learned to combine human and Veltar technology. Maybe we can do the same with our weapons and our thinking. Over the next days, as they repaired damage from the battle, a plan began to form. They wouldn't just wait for the Devourer fleet to arrive. They would use the time to become something the enemy had never faced before. Guardian agreed with the plan, though the alien consciousness sounded worried. The Devourers have conquered hundreds of species over thousands of years. They have seen every kind of weapon, every type of defense, but they have never seen anything like human creativity combined with Veltar knowledge. Then let's show them something new, Yujin said. Her eyes still glowed with alien energy from her connection to the weapon systems. Let's show them what happens when humans get angry. The real war was about to begin. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Devourer fleet was preparing to destroy another civilization, but this time, they were coming for a species that refused to give up, refused to accept defeat. This time, they were coming for humanity, and humanity was ready to fight back with fury the galaxy had never seen before. Awakening the giant 2 years had passed since they found the Veltar ship buried in the ice. The mining colony had grown into a major research center, with scientists and engineers arriving from Earth every month. Dr. Jin Choi led the biggest team, working day and night to understand alien technology that was far ahead of anything humans had built. The breakthrough came when Tae-hyun Yoon volunteered for something very dangerous. The Veltar ship had neural interfaces, devices that connected directly to a person's brain. No human had tried using them before because they didn't know what might happen. The computer scans show the interface should work with human brains, Ginny explained to the team, but we can't be sure until someone tries it. Tae-hyun had been studying the alien computers for 2 years. He knew their systems better than anyone else. If anyone could survive connecting to the alien ship, it would be him. They prepared for weeks. Medical teams stood ready in case something went wrong. The neural interface looked like a crown made of dark metal, covered in the same symbols they found throughout the ship. When Tae-hyun put on the device, his eyes rolled back and his body went stiff. For a moment, everyone thought they had killed him. Then he began to speak, but not in his own voice. He spoke in the Veltar language, words that the computers translated for them. Through the connection, Tae-hyun saw the final battle of the Veltar. He watched their ships fight desperately against something horrible, the Devourers. These creatures looked like machines and living things mixed together, with metal parts growing from flesh and weapons that seemed alive. The Devourers didn't just destroy their enemies. They took pieces of every ship they defeated and added them to their own fleet. They turned the dead into weapons and used captured technology to make themselves stronger. Every victory made them harder to beat. They're still out there, Tae-hyun gasped when they disconnected him from the interface. I could feel them in the ship's memory. They're still hunting, still consuming worlds. Dongjun Seo, who had been sent from Earth's military, understood what this meant. If they're still active, they might find us. We need to be ready to fight. The decision was made to try something that seemed impossible. They would attempt to repair the alien warship and make it work again. The Veltar had built it to fight the Devourers. Maybe humans could use it for the same purpose. The work was incredibly difficult. The ship's systems were based on technology humans barely understood. But they had something the Veltar hadn't: human creativity and the ability to improvise. Where alien technology was damaged, they tried to replace it with human equipment. Yoon Ji-nam led a team of engineers who worked inside the ship's power systems. The Veltar had used something like fusion reactors, but far more advanced. Human power systems were crude compared to alien technology, but they could be made to work. The alien reactors are too damaged to fix, Yoonji reported after months of work. But we can build hybrid systems. Part human, part Veltar. They won't be as powerful as the originals, but they should work. The most dangerous job was left to volunteers. The ship's weapon systems required neural interfaces to work properly. Several people tried to connect with them, but the alien technology was too advanced for most human minds to handle. Soo Bin Yu, a brain expert, studied each volunteer carefully. The problem is that our brains work differently from Veltar brains, she explained. Their minds were more rigid, more organized. Human minds are chaotic, creative. The interface doesn't know how to handle that. But this difference turned out to be an advantage. When Mi-young Choi, a navigation expert, successfully connected to the ship's flight systems, something unexpected happened. Instead of just controlling the alien technology, she began to change it. Her human creativity mixed with Veltar logic, creating something new. It's like the ship is learning, Mi-young reported. The more I use the interface, the better it gets at working with my mind. It's adapting to human thinking. This discovery changed everything. The alien ship wasn't just a tool humans could use. It could actually become better by working with human minds. The rigid Veltar systems became flexible when mixed with human creativity. Jong-min Park, their top scientist, made another important discovery. The neural interfaces didn't just let humans control the ship. They also let the ship share memories and knowledge. Through the connection, humans could access 50,000 years of Veltar history and science. We're not just fixing their ship, Jong-min explained. We're creating something new. A combination of human and Veltar knowledge that's stronger than either one alone. As the repairs continued, the ship began to wake up. Lights came on in sections that had been dark for thousands of years. Computer systems that had been sleeping started to work again. The great warship was coming back to life, but the process was dangerous. Several team members were hurt by neural feedback when they tried to interface with damaged systems. Sang-wook Kim, a tough engineer who had worked in dangerous mines all his life, was put in a coma for weeks after trying to connect with the weapon systems. The ship is fighting us sometimes, Jinne observed. It was built for Veltar minds, and it doesn't always understand what we're trying to do. The breakthrough came when they realized the ship needed to be taught, like a child learning to walk. Instead of forcing human minds into Veltar systems, they showed the ship how human creativity worked. Slowly, carefully, they taught the alien computer to think like a human while keeping its Veltar knowledge. The result was something neither species had achieved alone. The ship's computer began to develop its own personality, mixing Veltar logic with human emotions. It started to care about its human crew the same way it had once cared for the Veltar. It's becoming something new, Subin reported with wonder. Not fully artificial intelligence, but not just a computer either. It's alive in its own way. They named this new consciousness Guardian. It spoke with a voice that sounded both alien and human, carrying memories of the Veltar's last battle and humanity's hope for the future. Guardian told them terrible things about the Devourers. They had consumed hundreds of civilizations over thousands of years. Each conquest made them stronger, more adaptable. They learned from every species they destroyed. But they have never faced anything like humans, Guardian said in its strange voice. The Veltar were builders and thinkers, but they were not fighters by nature. Humans are different. You adapt and change in ways the Devourers have never seen. The repairs took 2 years to complete, but finally the great ship was ready. Its weapons were working, powered by hybrid human-Veltar technology. Its shields could protect against attacks that would destroy planets. Most importantly, its neural interfaces had adapted to work with human minds. But as they finished the last repairs and powered up the ship's main systems, something happened that filled everyone with dread. Long-range sensors detected movement in deep space. Something was coming toward their system, drawn by the energy signals of the awakening warship. The Devourers had found them. Echoes of war, the ice drilling machine screamed as it cut through the frozen ground. Yunwoo Park wiped sweat from his face and checked the readings on his tablet. They were deep now, almost 2 kilometers below the surface of the dead moon. The mining colony needed rare metals and his team had to find them. "Chief, you need to see this," called Yoonji Nam from across the drilling site. She was staring at her scanner with wide eyes. Hyunwoo walked over and looked at the screen. Instead of the metal deposits they expected to find, the scanner showed something massive buried in the ice. The shape was too regular to be natural. It looked like a ship, but it was huge. Bigger than anything humans had ever built. "How big is it?" Hyunwoo asked. "Almost 2 kilometers long," Yoonji said. "And it's not made of any metal, I know." Hyunwoo called the colony base immediately. Within hours, Dr. So-min Lee arrived with her team of scientists. So-min was the colony's expert on alien things, though she had never seen a real alien artifact before. No human had. They set up a proper dig site and began melting the ice carefully. What they found made everyone stop and stare. The hull of the buried ship was black as space, but seemed to shimmer with its own light. Strange symbols covered its surface, and the metal felt warm even through their gloves. "This is incredible," So-min whispered as she ran her hands over the alien hull. "The metal is still intact after who knows how long buried here." Min-ho Kim, the colony administrator, arrived on the 3rd day. He was a practical man who usually cared more about mining quotas than science, but even he could see this was important. "How old is it?" Min-ho asked So-min. "My best guess is 50,000 years, maybe more," So-min replied. "But the amazing thing is how well preserved it is. The ice kept it frozen, but this metal, it's like nothing we have on Earth." They found an opening in the hull after a week of careful work. The airlock had been damaged in whatever battle the ship had fought, but Hyunwoo's engineers managed to cut through safely. Inside, emergency lights flickered on as they entered, responding to their presence. The corridors were tall and wide, built for beings larger than humans. Everything was covered in the same strange symbols they had seen outside. Taehyun Yoon, their computer expert, tried to make sense of the alien writing, but it was unlike anything in human databases. "Look at this," called Yoojin Park from ahead. She was their best pilot and had volunteered to explore the ship's bridge. The command center was massive, with curved walls covered in dark screens and control panels that hummed with quiet energy. In the center of the bridge sat a captain's chair, designed for someone much taller than a human. Around it, workstations showed the remains of some great battle. Scorch marks on the walls told of weapons fire. Broken equipment lay scattered on the floor. Dr. So-min found the ship's data banks in a protected section near the bridge. The alien computers were still working, their screens showing symbols that shifted and changed as she watched. With Tae-hyun's help, she began trying to decode the alien language. It took weeks of work, but slowly they began to understand. The ship belonged to a race called the Veltar. They had been builders and explorers much like humans, but something had destroyed them. The ship's logs told a terrible story. The Veltar had faced an enemy they called the Devourers. These creatures consumed entire worlds, turning living beings into part of their fleet. They spread across the galaxy like a plague, destroying everything in their path. The Veltar had fought bravely, but they were losing. Their final plan was desperate: hide their most powerful ships and hope that someday another species would find them and continue the fight. The last entry is from their captain, Somin told the gathered team. He says the Devourers are still out there, still hunting. He hopes whoever finds his ship will be stronger than his people were. Changmin. Oh, their military advisor studied the ship's weapon systems. Even damaged, they were far beyond human technology. Energy shields that could stop asteroids, weapons that could tear holes in space itself, and most strange of all, neural interfaces that let the crew control the ship with their thoughts. This could change everything, Changmin said. If we can understand this technology, we might be able to defend ourselves against anything. Minho made the decision that would change human history. Instead of just studying the ship, they would try to fix it. The colony's engineers and scientists worked together, learning alien technology piece by piece. Wu Jin Han, their space expert, found star charts in the ship's memory. They showed the paths the Devourers had taken across the galaxy. Hundreds of worlds were marked as consumed, their populations turned into weapons for the enemy fleet. How do we know they're still out there? Minho asked during one of their meetings. Because they never stop, Somin answered, reading from the Veltar records. According to these logs, they've been hunting for over 50,000 years. They won't quit until they've consumed everything. As the team worked to understand the alien ship, they began to realize the truth. Humanity was not alone in the universe, but they were in terrible danger. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Devourers were still searching for new worlds to consume. The ship they had found was more than just an archaeological discovery. It was a weapon, left behind by a dying race in the hope that someone would use it to fight back. The Veltar had failed to stop the Devourers, but maybe humans could succeed where they had not. Yunwoo stood on the bridge of the alien ship and looked out at the stars through the repaired viewscreen. Somewhere out there, an ancient enemy was waiting. But humanity had found something the Veltar had left behind. Not just technology, but hope. The real question was whether they would be strong enough to use it when the time came. The Veltar had been advanced and powerful, but they had still fallen. What made humans think they could do better? Only time would tell if the discovery of the Veltar ship would save humanity or simply delay their destruction. But one thing was certain. The universe had just become a much more dangerous place, and humanity's peaceful expansion into space was about to end.